there.
Rotus is the expert. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Good morning.
Good morning. Join the conversation. Send your messages to WhatsApp 0809 444 0981. It's as if you haven't heard today's Valentine's Day.
Yeah, no, we're aware, we're aware. In fact, some of our stories. So today is a light-hearted day. I think we're going to talk about that as well. Eromosele is with us today. Eromosele, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, bro. Let's go.
All right, let's hop into it. So the bull run ended yesterday. So the long positive stretch on the stock exchange ended yesterday. The market dipped by 0.15%. 32,413 points is where we closed. So far this year, the market is up by 6%. Excuse me, month to date for February, the market is up by 6%. But as far as the year to date, including January, we're up by 3.1%. We had only 19 stocks that gained in value, 22 lost value. The top gainer, I believe, was Burger Paints, up by 10%. CNI Leasing was the top loser, down by 9.95. Roma said this is pretty much what's profit taking. Yes, this is the familiar routine we see on the market.
Largely. I mean, after the run of about 8
days,
or 9 days, investors start to take profit in the market. Again, we might possibly still see a run closer to the release of results.
Right.
As investors might want to position ahead of dividend payment.
Okay. And this is the back and forth, yeah. The market is up there. People take their profits, then it falls, then people do bargain hunting. So it's bargain hunting, back and forth.
The cycle
continues
in
yeah.
the market.
All right. Well, we did say that we wanted to discuss Valentine, but before we get into that, I just saw an interesting story yesterday regarding bonds. Because I remember earlier on this week, someone was asking about the federal government savings bond. I remember telling them that the window had passed and the next one would be opening in first week of March. But just to add to the bond discussion, a little bit of sports finance. Juventus, they approached the bond markets, yesterday or the day before, yes? Because they're trying to raise more money to finance their debts, right? So it's I think we can view this as a corporate bond, right?
Essentially,
right?
Because yes, it's a football club, but
exactly.
It could be seen as a corporate bond. But I mean, to be honest, investors' interest in football clubs that are listed has been quite low because there are a lot of variables. So, for instance, the overall performance of the Juventus, the sports club, I mean, in these days in sports, it goes beyond just sales that they're able to make on match days. You have things like sponsorship,
right?
Their overall performance at the end of the season, how far they can go in Champions League, and things like that also play a role in how well the company is able to do. So, given all these possible variables that are there, you generally just see that a lot of investors want to stay clear of this kind of stock. So, I mean, even in terms of coverage now, analyst coverage for the sports clubs, you have very, very few. I think for Juventus, you probably have only, I think about 2, because I saw a report where it stated there were only about 2 analysts who were covering the stock. But I mean, you can also understand the Juventus's confidence in approaching the market now. You know, it had been termed Juventus testing the Ronaldo effect.
Right.
No.
And it didn't work out.
It didn't work the way it was expected to work, as investor interest wasn't really there. Wasn't really there.
And one of the reasons why I believe, and this is something for folks listening, when you think about bonds, the rating of a bond, which essentially is a rating on the company itself, is very important. So Inter Milan, I believe in 2017, it says here that they also went to the market to raise about 300 million euros. But Inter Milan got a rating from the S&P. So their bond was rated. I think they also tied their finances to their media rights and so on. Juventus didn't get a rating, which is, and when we think about how ratings affect securities, and investors say, if you're not rated, I don't think I'm going to want to buy into it, you know. So I'll tweet this out for folks to check out. So when you think about bonds, it's not just federal government bonds that are out there. Corporations do these things, but it still comes down to the fundamentals for investors when they are looking at a company and want to either buy its stock or either buy its. In fact, what was Bloomberg's headline? They said Cristiano Ronaldo's star fails to attract bond investors to Juventus. That was
maybe the next couple of years we would see some Nigerian football clubs
Alright,
get
so,
listed, and then
look,
approach the market.
we've been saying that for how long, right? We still don't even have proper funding. Nigerian clubs are still funded by governors.
Governors.
Yeah, it's still a
yeah.
state enterprise. All right. So I'll tweet that story. Interesting things to learn there as far as how bonds works. But by the way, I think the yield was even lower than Inter Milan's. Juventus yield was 3.5%. Yeah, the yield on Inter Milan's was like 4.5 or 5%. So even the yield wasn't enough to attract investors. Okay, Val's Day. Shall we? Since it's the occasion, yeah. Let's do it.
I was almost going to ask you, Rotus, if you celebrated Valentine's Day.
Of course. We're going to Jeannie's thing this evening. Are
Yes,
we
we
not?
are.
Yes, we are. Of course we are. I purchased something for my
For a special
recipe.
someone.
Although I might be in trouble because she's been saying she wanted to go to a particular restaurant.
Ooh.
I delayed. Went to
Why?
the restaurant because of work now. Because of Business Express. That's why. That's why. Anyway, I went to the restaurant and they are fully booked. So no reservations.
Fancy.
I called them yesterday. Like, sorry. I mean, imagine. That's a tip. So let's go into it now. So Nairametrics has this headline: businesses that will profit from Valentine's Day. Shall we go into it? Who do we think? And if folks out there also hop in with the businesses you think are going to do very well. Eromosele, what are we seeing?
I mean, from this sort of thing, you have a lot of people buying gifts and things. So people purchasing roses. You have all these people that also make like gift hampers, chocolate, things like that. Cinema, to be honest.
You think the cinema is going to do well today?
Well,
it's a weekday though.
It's an option.
It's a default option.
It's an option
for people who don't want to think too hard.
It is, but and I think although cinemas haven't really thought about this, if I was running a cinema, I'll say, okay, this is Val's Day. Why not run some old romantic movies?
Like Titanic or something.
Exactly, right? We should bring or do some Valentine's Day. I did not see any cinemas run anything special for today, though. I didn't see it. Maybe because it's still a weekday and people are still out there. Now, but Nairametrics, they did list spas. Spas are supposed to be expected to do well today. Couples that are going to be going there to get pampered after work, if you want to avoid traffic, to go and get massages and foot rubs
to get
to the spa.
And the spa treatments will help relieve the stress.
And then you enter in traffic to go home again.
Well, looking on the bright side, after that traffic, you go sleep.
Exactly.
Right.
You doze off. Musical performances. So musicians who play I don't know what is it, saxophones, guitars, and so on and so forth. Those, if you're a musician, you can expect to try and schedule ahead of time with either hotels or restaurants or something.
Not fancy bullshit.
Exactly, right?
and then Menga Kama has a suggestion to add. They said those who sell fabric, those selling red attire, clothes and accessories.
That's you are laughing, but that's actually true. Look, people have to anticipate these things. Look, unfortunately, we don't have data for Nigeria, but the US is expected to spend $20 billion on Val's Day. It's been going up. It was 17 billion last year. Thank you. Half of our reserves, that's what they're spending.
Even florists make a lot of money today.
Florists are going to be making a lot of money as well. Graphic designers, because another thing, folks, there are people who are wanting to go towards like custom-made gift cards, because it's possible that you might buy the same card as somebody else. So if you're a graphic designer, you can design something unique for people. So graphic designers are expected to make some funds today. Right, exactly. You know those people. Folks who write poetry. Right? If you want a unique message in your card, I hope you guys are. I'm giving you ideas here. Although it's coming from Nairametrics though. And then what else? Pastries, of course. I think pastries are supposed to do very, very well. Pastries, flowers, and I think the cards. Those ones should do pretty well as well.
I think I add some though. I think I sent in a message on WhatsApp. Say phones and tablets will also sell.
I
personally sold 2 phones to a lady.
2.
I do not know if she has 2 boyfriends, but that's a possibility. Good for you, though.
Thank you for that thing. So yeah, electronics too are supposed to sell very well.
Ibrahim says those who bake in the cake industry.
Yes, Ibrahim, thank you. Yeah, we just mentioned that pastries as well. Those are supposed to do pretty well as well. Okay, and let's see. They also have a second article here for those who don't want to spend too much. We just talked about our GDP figures, Eromosele. Yeah, we're still, the country is still. So we're just coming off of Christmas, so they had some, Nairametrics also had some low cost suggestions. Valentine already mentioned a few minutes ago, those who don't want to spend too much going to the movies.
Yeah,
The
so
movies
it's
are
a
low
default.
cost. Yeah, so for those of you that don't feel too pressured, right? Do you have any low cost suggestions?
I
for
mean,
folks?
there's also the stay-at-home option. So as opposed to
What?
no,
Well,
let me explain.
Yeah, go ahead.
As opposed to going, for instance, you talked about going to a restaurant
Yes.
and how it was fully booked. It could be nice to make dinner at home as well.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
So that's fancy. I mean, arrange a
I
couple
agree.
of roses,
the
some
ladies
scented
can make us food
flowers.
for a change.
Exactly.
Oh wow!
Right?
That's a twist. I'm sorry.
Valentine is looking for trouble.
Yinka sent a
yeah.
message. I do not understand. A celebrated day without public holiday declaration, is that one a day? I wonder what Lagos couples will do today. So after avoiding to die in the legendary third mainland bridge traffic, I'll now still go
out.
So that guy that sleep short pass. Trust me, broom sellers are currently crashing out.
Thanks, the APC. Yinka, that's a good point, though. Okay, well, should we ask this? Outside of what states do you think are really going to be celebrating this?
Lagos.
Lagos for sure.
Port Harcourt.
Port Harcourt, thank you.
Abuja.
Abuja. How many more? Enugu.
Yes.
Yeah? And maybe
for
Ogun
sure.
State, Ogun's proximity to Lagos, they should be doing some Valentine's celebrations
Asaba.
in Ogun. Yeah?
Yeah.
But the location of corporations, won't that have a role to play? If, I mean, as far as your cinemas and other businesses and so on and so forth. So we're not looking at majority of the states in the country
I wish
celebrating this.
cinemas could actually crash their prices down to like 100 naira per ticket.
Exactly.
Yeah,
For
so
people.
full.
Right, I know, right?
No, I think the one downside is traffic, especially
Yes.
for us here in Lagos. Because I remember last year
It was,
there was
you
terrible
couldn't move
traffic
anywhere.
on Valentine's Day.
Right.
Let's hope it will be better.
Babe, Rick Bengals, Mr.
Benga
We forgot
says,
this.
those who sell watches, small jewelry, and so on have recorded upsurge in patronage.
Thank you. Sorry,
And
it's
then-
even in the article. Jewelry is a big sales item as well. Thank you, Benga.
Cyril said taxi services.
Yes, yes. To avoid the same. Well, right. It would make sense to use the the ride-hailing apps because
Yes.
you don't want to drive and kill yourself.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and worst case scenario, if you're stuck in traffic, end the trip and start
And
walking.
just
Yes.
Take a romantic stroll.
I mean, some exercise will help you look good for your day.
Have
Rainmaker says Nairametrics article confirms that this vows thing is largely gender-based. Most of them are what is attractive to the female. How about the male? Anyways, what's the current rate of for a
91
91
but
treasury bill?
I think the last auction it was about 14.5. I'll double check on that. But yeah, it would be nice, ladies, for men to get flowers. That would be
Laulu
nice.
says he
That would be
doesn't need
nice.
to be cheeky. What about contraceptive?
Well, that's there's some cheeky people on this show, but yes, that is possibly a sales item that will probably increase as well today.
Yinka sent you a message when you were buying it. He said, "Ha, Valentine, 100 naira per ticket."
Yeah, that will really
Literally alone.
they will scatter the cinema if they reduce it to 100 naira.
But that would be nice.
Okay, but real quick though, on a serious note, the European Union, they announced yesterday that they are blacklisting some companies because of suspected terrorist financing and weak money laundering regulations. Yes, so unfortunately Nigeria made the list, but so did Ghana.
And
Is that
Saudi
supposed
Arabia.
should that make me feel better that Ghana is there as well
And
because of our rivalry?
No, comparing yourself to another country
It's
for
not
the
good.
wrong reason.
It's not good. But Ghana, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, a number of those countries.
Although
So
critics are quite skeptical that it might affect their trade deals. and
exactly,
relationship with
because
them.
any banks from those countries that are doing business with the EU, they might be extra skeptical about them. So we have to do more in terms of money laundering and terrorist financing.
Yes.
Eromosele, any plans for Vals? They were wrapping up.
Yeah, I'm going to work and then I have classes after that. So anybody that loves me,
Send
feel free to
something
send
over.
Somebody who loves you. Patty from Ikota said, "I love you guys. You make my day." always."
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, let's run with that.
Exactly, right? Eromosele, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you
Thanks
very
everybody for your messages. Have a wonderful Vals day and enjoy yourselves.
And enjoy yourself. We'll have a very interesting conversation coming next. Lagos, you're listening to Smooth 98.1.
Business Express.